All right, guys, welcome to Republic Inspection's very first podcast. We're super excited here today. We've got our first guest, Jason Piercey from Keller Williams.
Hello, hello.
Today we're going to talk about the home inspection process, how it relates to the buyers, the sellers, and of course, the real estate agent.
But we're not that important, so mostly the buyers and sellers.
Mostly the buyers and sellers, exactly. All right.
Well, I mean, really though, the inspections aren't for us. The inspections are to protect buyers and to facilitate transactions for sellers.
Right, exactly.
Right?
But you certainly do help to guide that process along.
Yeah, we're guides. That's
Especially
exactly.
someone who's
Yeah.
never had it done, and when they get that report, sometimes they don't know what to do with it whatsoever. So you guys come in with your expertise because you've seen so many.
Yes,
say, okay,
yeah.
guys, we'll look at certain areas. And what areas do you guys kind of look at, Jason, when you get a report?
I'm going to go back a little bit from that and say that when you're having a conversation with a buyer and you're writing an offer to purchase a property and you're attaching to that a request to do a home inspection, that's a document that our real estate, I should have had one with me. I'm not. I should not have been your guest. It's called a home inspection report addendum. And what a home inspection report addendum outlines is what the purpose of the inspection is. And we're not looking at cosmetic issues.
Right.
We're not looking at situations where national building code has changed since the construction of the property. And we're not looking at making recommendations for doing repair now based on the fact that in the future something will eventually reach its life expectancy. So replace it now as opposed to later. So we're not looking at any of those things. We're looking at mechanical, electrical, structural, and life safety deficiencies. So current things that are not good enough, like legit deficiencies.
Right, exactly. So we don't have a crystal ball, so we can't foresee the future. The inspection is at the time that we actually perform the inspection.
Yeah, the current condition of the property.
Right.
Yeah.
We could be there today, and this item functions as intended. Tomorrow, maybe not.
You know? But that's why if we're doing a good job of writing a contract, we'll put in there that prior to closing, on the day of closing or the day before closing, we're going to do another walkthrough to make sure that the property is in the condition that we agreed that it would be in by closing. Because if you go and inspect a water heater that's 5 years old, still works fine, no signs of leaking, there's no rust anywhere, the water is still hot, right. Everything is okay, this might be approaching its design life, yeah. But it's still operational.
Still functional.
You can't use, a buyer can't take that based on a home inspection report addendum and recommend that water heater get replaced because it's only supposed to last 6 or 7 years and it's already 5 years. Like that's not really how that's supposed to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you had some notes here, some stuff that you want to talk about.
Sure.
So I guess I say my role, but I guess the real estate professional role, the realtor role. So we talked about what the home inspection addendum is and what it's meant to do.
Right. And that is a legally binding contract.
Well, it forms a part of your agreement of purchase and sale. Well, if your realtor did a good enough job of writing your contract, right. It should form a part of your agreement of purchase and sale. So it's all part and parcel. It's all one thing. Okay. Just like a financing clause, just like you got to sell some other property, just all of those other things. Just like you want the fridge and stove included, right. You want the home inspection, it's a part of a contract. Okay. And it's a legally binding agreement that only comes apart if it comes apart within the confines of the contract. So if it comes apart because you can't get financing, then you're out of your contract. You don't get to arbitrarily say, nope, don't want it. Can you imagine if you went in to lease a car and you went in and you signed the papers to lease the car and they approved it for the financing, and then when you went to pick it up, you said, nah.
Exactly.
They're still going to take your money every month.
Exactly.
So these are contracts. It's legally binding. Right. It's real. You bought a house.
So you do have to have some weight to that. You do have to obviously, realize that as a binding contract.
Yeah, and when you're a realtor,
be serious when you have your clients there. Right?
Yes, and you need to make sure that people understand that they're there because this is a big step forward in their life. You're purchasing a property. This inspection is to make sure that the property you're purchasing doesn't have these major defects that weren't apparent to us when we were there. Because anything that we could see and was obvious with our own eyes, we can't bring up again after the home inspection, right? So if I write in my offer that we want a discount of $10,000 off of your asking price, and the seller's agent says, why are you writing 10 grand under? And I say, because we got to redo the roof and a couple windows. He says, okay, that makes sense. So then we go do a home inspection, and then after the home inspection, I ask for more money because we got to do the roof and the windows. No, like that's not you know what I mean? You got to be strategic about this stuff. So home inspections don't exist to renegotiate price. That's not what they're for. So my role, or our role as realtors, is to explain to people what they're for and to guide them through that process, to help them identify an inspector who can accurately, I guess, view and interpret the current situation of the property and then communicate it really well in a report. And not, I don't know, is it inappropriate to say scare the shit out of somebody on your podcast? Is that okay?
No, that's fine.
You knew who you were getting when you called me.
Exactly. No, we want it all on the table.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not your job to do that. It's your job to say, this is the current condition of the property. Exactly. Right? And that's it. And your report should say that. So then the report comes back to us and to the buyer first, typically. I mean, they bought it, I didn't buy it. I mean, sometimes, perhaps. And what happens next, and in my opinion, and you probably do this because I think we talked about it before, but I don't think a lot of home inspectors do. What happens next is that we have a discussion about what you can do with the information that's found in the report. And it makes sense to have that up front prior to seeing the issues. You don't get a report that you don't like and then run away.
Right. Okay.
That's not what it's for. Now, to me, and I'll tell people up front, we're going to look for these things. If we find any of these things, we have two options. We can ask them to repair them, or we can ask them to reduce our price so we can afford to repair them. That's it. Those are your options. A home inspection is not an escape clause from a contract.
Right. So you always have to give the vendor time to either do those two items.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So you can't just say we're walking away and leave the vendor just kind of hanging.
Yeah.
Because they might be ready to say, yeah, we'll certainly have
yes, exactly.
those items in that inspection report taken care of right away.
Yeah, like I mean, if you do an inspection on a property and the electrical system is of a type of fuse that's going to be hard to get insured. Okay. Right. So you don't walk away from that property. You saw the panel when you were there. Presumably you or your realtor was smart enough or experienced enough to point it out. You saw that it was there. You knew it was there when you made your offer. You likely made your offer from a financial perspective based on what you saw. Right. And then when they told you that it needed to be upgraded, you walked away? No, you don't get to do that. Right. You give the seller the opportunity to either adjust price if they want to, but I mean, you shouldn't because you already knew it was there.
You already knew that, right.
So you give them the opportunity to fix it. And if they don't want to fix it, they would rather throw money at it, and that's fine. That's their prerogative. But home inspections aren't so you can get out of a deal. They're so you can protect the investment that you already decided that you wanted.
Right.
Right? So I think that sort of sums up what I think my role is, probably. Yeah. It's a guide, and it's about managing expectations and executing on what your buyer wants to happen while still protecting them by making sure they stay within the confines of the contract. Because it doesn't work well for realtors or for home inspectors if our clients sue each other. That's
no, that's
right.
That puts a sour taste in everybody's
that's not good.
mouth, and we're not, we certainly don't want to do that for sure. But I think, and like you touched on, to be able to eliminate most of the gray areas is a great thing when you're, having a buyer or a seller, do a negotiation.
Yeah. Yeah. So if they both know what the options are prior to starting the negotiation, you eliminate. So it's managing expectations. You eliminate a lot of the gray. Exactly. Yeah. So we've got this kind of, or you've got this sort of listed out into what realtors do, sellers do, and buyers. Right. I'm comfortable talking about the realtor's role, and I'm comfortable talking about the buyer's role. And while I could because I can talk constantly. Well, I could also talk about the seller's role. I think as somebody who's coming in to look at a property, as an inspector, what you would like it to see. I mean, I think it's your podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't have to talk constantly.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's fine, Jason. We could rename the podcast.
No, I got enough stuff on Facebook. People are sick of seeing my face.
No, I don't think so. Well, yeah, for sure. As an experienced home inspector, we obviously inspect many properties. And there are some tips that we'd like to, give out to the seller and to the listing agent. Many times, obviously, part of the home inspection is that we need accessibility to certain components of the property.
Yeah.
That includes electrical panels, attic hatches, crawl space areas, under stairs. Many times we have limitations if we can't access those reasonably. If there's a few stored items underneath the stairs.
If you got your Christmas tree tucked in under the stairs, you can't see where the water line comes in from the city.
It could end up being a limitation. We want to do a full inspection. However, we don't want to damage anyone's personal property. I'll certainly move a few items, but if there's a lot of items there, then that's the responsibility of the seller to have those items moved so we don't damage anything on the property.
So when you're booking the appointment, you're calling the listing agent and saying, hey, it's Ken from Republic Inspections. I'm going to look at this place. I'm going to need access to these areas.
Right.
And then presumably that agent requests access to those areas from their seller, and the seller obliges your request. That's the ideal situation.
Well, that's the ideal situation for sure. Sometimes it doesn't always happen, and we don't always know whether the agent has given that information to the seller. Sometimes they may, and maybe the seller was busy, just didn't get around to clearing some areas that we need access to, and that kind of stuff. So what we've done, we've set up a new system now where we'll send an email to the listing agent, and these are the areas that we like to have access to. And they can easily then take that and forward that email right to the seller. Because one of the things obviously is with a buyer's inspection, we're working for the buyer. But we have very little, if any, communication to the seller.
So, which makes sense. Just as a little bit of an aside, when I work for a buyer and when I work for a seller, I'm doing two very different jobs. But when you're hired by a buyer versus being hired by a seller, theoretically, you're doing the same thing. You should not be finding different things when hired by a buyer than you find when you're hired by a seller.
Correct. We do the exact same inspection, whether we're working for the buyer or for the seller. Exactly the same. And the same limitations come up too. Again, it's access to the attic hatch is inaccessible.
You can't get there because it's full of voodoo dolls or something. You're not going to go messing with that.
We found one where they had foreign china stored in the closet where the attic hatch was. So
you're not going to get in a mess.
No, I had to make a quick decision. I'm not going to try and move any of that. And,
so what happens? What happens from the buyer's perspective? Because now you can't see the attic of the house that they're trying to buy. So you need to disclose, in their report or to them, this was not inspected.
It was not inspected. Now we always want to get in every area we can, because the more thorough inspection, the better we can have, the condition of the property. So in certain instances, we can go back and have you ask the listing agent to ask the seller
and I think that's what I would probably do there.
And then Ken will agree to come back, do a little quick re-inspection of the attic or the crawl space, whatever area that I couldn't access at the time. Because again, we want to make sure that we see the full picture, and so does the buyer. And I'm sure.
And you really shouldn't buy a house that's seen attic.
Yeah, exactly. But you never know. You never know what's up there. I'm always looking.
Could be another family living up there. You don't know.
There's a couple of things that we try to look for in attics when I get up there, and that's dead body. You never know. I haven't found any, but
this is like the TSN turning point of when the podcast went off the rails.
It went off the rails, That and
when you're in the murder house, dead bodies. I got.
But but we always tell people buyers that dead bodies are not part of the home inspection. So
That's true.
If we do find them, they're not going to be in the report.
Oh my God, this is going nowhere.
Well, no, we're only joking. That and any kind of buried treasure. We say if we find it, we can keep it. No.
I mean, nobody would probably know. Okay, so who should go to the inspection?
We highly recommend the buyer show up to every inspection. Not to the full inspection, because we do like to have, our time at the inspection so that we don't get questions that will probably end up being answered once we finish.
Sure.
You don't want to get distracted. Sometimes you can get, buyer will bring the whole family and you got people
take way too long.
Yeah, and it'll take extra time. And I've got a routine that I do and that kind of thing. Little things that buyers may not know. When I go to probably turn the lights on in every room, and then when I finish inspecting that room, I turn the light off. I know I've been there.
Yeah, okay,
you can never miss it.
Yeah, it helps
right?
you. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Especially if you're in a big house, say down in King William, it's got 10 bedrooms.
Yeah.
But they all kind of look alike after a while. You're like,
yeah.
Do
was
this
I in here? Was I not in here?
Yeah, right?
Okay.
So,
no, it's clever, yeah.
So it's a few little things that I like to do.
So you'd like that they come by after you do your whole thing?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that way then as soon as they come in, we can go right to the home inspection findings. I do a nice little slideshow to present everything, and then they have an opportunity to ask any questions.
Yeah.
And I find too, just to be able to describe certain things in person is a lot easier sometimes than people having to read it in the report. And also, once they walk away after the on-site inspection, they know what's going to be in the report. So they're not kind of waiting and saying, oh, boy, what's going to be in that report? Then they got to get the report, then they got to read it. It could take them 10, 15 minutes to go through it.
That's a valuable conversation.
Valuable. Very valuable.
That's, if you had to put a percentage of the inspections you do, what percentage of them does the buyer's agent attend?
I would say we're...
like, be really, really honest.
I would say we probably have 70%.
You think 70% of the time the buyer's agent attends the inspection? I think that's actually pretty impressive.
And what we do see...
I would have guessed it was much lower.
Yeah, what we do see is for first-time home buyers, our feedback is that generally more agents will show up if it's a first-time home buyer. If it's a seasoned buyer after buying numerous properties, he knows the home inspection process and all that kind of stuff.
That makes sense.
The agent doesn't need to show up. We can certainly handle that. First-time home buyer, it is probably nice to, if you guys are available, to probably attend that last part of the inspection on site.
I'm actually sort of impressed with our industry as a whole right now, because I would have figured we're at like 25%.
No,
that's good. That's excellent. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and I know now when we
So now we have a list of all the agents who do not attend. I'm joking. Obviously, that's a joke. Let's not do that.
No.
Okay, so is there anything else about the seller side of things that you think it's important for the public to understand or to know?
Well, I mean, obviously for the seller side, just when we go in, there are times the seller is there at the property.
Sometimes they stay home.
Yeah, sometimes they stay at home. We recommend, if possible, to leave. Just because usually at the end of it, we're going to bring the buyer in,
and we want to need to meet
right, and we want to have an honest conversation. We don't want to have to kind of hide away in the basement underneath the stairs to discuss,
we check the drawer.
So it is, we do recommend the buyer go, but there are exceptions, Jason. Someone who has a newborn baby.
Sorry, we're Snapchatting.
No problem. So someone who might have a newborn baby in the middle of winter in February, and I'm going to do a home inspection.
You're not going to kick them out.
No, they can certainly stay. Or an elderly couple, they got nowhere to go for 3 hours or whatever. We're not going to kick them out. All we ask of them is that, they don't need to follow us around. Just let us do our job. And that's when we'll make everything flow and be a little bit more.
Have a cup of tea ready.
Yeah, just relax. Sometimes people can be a little uptight. I find sometimes sellers want to try and take us by the arm and show us.
And trying to guide you through, trying to justify or explain away something.
Exactly. Here's the electrical panel here, over here. Almost like I've never seen one before.
Yeah.
I was like, is that what that is? Okay, great. I'm glad you pointed that out to me. And here's the hot water tank right here. Oh, really? Okay, excellent. I'll tick them off my list. So, we don't need the full guided tour. Now, there are some times when it is come in handy when say, water access to the main shut off, maybe in an area where it could be difficult for me to find.
You might not have.
Right, it may be
Well,
hidden.
like if the basement is finished and you want to know where the clean out is.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We had one instance where the water main was actually behind a built-in shelf unit that had to be actually pulled physically out to get access to the water shut off. Anybody, even me, looked at it, would never know that that could pull up because it looked like it was totally built in and attached
I spent
to the wall.
a half an hour in an older home in sort of the center of the city one time that was heated by oil. I could find the tank, and it was hot water radiation, and you see all the radiators everywhere, but I could not. And if you're watching this, I think this was Corey Gorman's listing. Corey's with Royal LePage Atlantic, I think. Yes. Anyway, I could not find the furnace anywhere, and it was not a big house. Right. It was maybe like 800 square feet on the main floor. Right. Half the basement was like crawl space, but the rest of it was finished. I could not find the furnace anywhere. And then I happened to literally be leaning on a wall and put my hand on a hinge. Okay. I was like, what in the name? Why is there a hinge in the middle of a wall? And then I followed along and saw a break in the baseboard and saw a break up top in the crown, walked around to the other end and saw another break where the drywall was finished, gap, more finished drywall. So I just kind of put my hand on it and pulled, and a whole wall about 12 feet long opened up on hinges and had wheels on the bottom and wheeled out into the finished space. Wow. And inside was the water heater, the furnace, the electrical panel. It was all tucked away inside this little hidden space. It was the coolest thing. Oh, it made me feel like, that's awesome, though. Yeah, it made me feel like Fred Penner crawling through the log. Like it was really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, if there are any areas like that, that would be good to have advance notice.
Like he should have told me that.
Yeah, definitely.
I like to think a lesser agent would not have found it.
There you go. So kudos to you that you didn't find it. You didn't have to make that second trip back.
That's right.
Okay, it is there.
Yeah, right.
It's not nuclear heat.
Yeah, it was right? It was really cool. I was impressed.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool.
That's great. That's great.
We didn't buy the house though.
Oh.
But I mean, we could have. It's just
It didn't fit your.
It didn't fit her for other reasons.
That's fine. Okay.
I almost talked her into it because the cool secret cabin.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. So there are certain instances where the seller's knowledge of their own property does come into play. That would be one of them for sure. Yeah. The other one that I find is the alarm system.
Yeah.
You know, and I do ask guys, is there an alarm system? And they'll say, well, there is, but it'll be deactivated, or no, there's not. I think every home inspector out there can probably relate to this, that they've opened that door and heard that beep, beep, and you know, oh no, here we go.
Yeah, because it's not, you don't have a direct contact number for the seller then. It's not as easy as you texting the seller, what's your code? Exactly. Your client is the buyer.
Right.
Right, so I call the buyer and the buyer calls me and I call the seller or or the seller's agent. Yeah, by then the cops are there.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I only spent 2 days in jail. And I don't want to do that again, but until they figured out who it was. No, we're joking on that. But,
it was only a day and a half. Wasn't that big a deal.
So those are obviously good to know items for sure. Even if, you think that the alarm won't be deactivated, always good just to give us
just to have the code.
Just to have it. Yeah. If not,
you never know.
You never know. A lot of sellers.
Maybe little Susie skipped off school and came home, and when she left, she set the alarm before mom and dad got home.
Exactly. A lot of times sellers are just so, so routine oriented and set that when they go, they just forget, the home inspector's coming this morning, and they'll just turn it on as they leave, just totally forget all that.
Or if it's in my house, I took the call and I said it would be deactivated, but I didn't tell my wife because I forget stuff all the time.
Right.
And but not relating to my real estate business. And then I didn't tell her, so she left in second. So that's what would happen in my life.
Right. Yeah. So it does happen from time to time, for sure. I mean, people do forget and that kind of stuff. But we like to try to make everything as smooth as possible. For sure. We don't want to scare the neighbors with this alarm going off and 9 o'clock in the morning and waking people up. So it's always good to make sure that we do have the code. And I think the last one on the list there, or well, not the last one, but pets.
Oh yeah, because I think there's a check mark on anything else.
Yeah.
Cool.
So if there's going to be pets at the property, I love pets.
Yeah.
But it's good to know up front. We had an incident where there was a cat at the property.
Yeah.
The seller had left a nice little sign on the door: "Please do not let my cat out." Excellent. We really appreciate
They won't
that.
let your cat
Right.
out.
So
Yeah.
we're very cautious because we do go in and out quite frequently.
Yeah.
I do have to bring equipment in and out, ladders.
So you're leaving doors open for
right.
Yep.
Yeah. So once we knew that, we're very mindful. So I was very careful and make sure that we didn't leave the door open too long. So then the agent showed up, and we were talking in the kitchen. A nice big patio door right next to us, and I noticed there's a cat there. And it was the same color cat that was inside the property, looking at us
From outside.
And I said, "Did you make sure you close the door
Yeah.
right behind you?" She said, "Well, not really."
Yeah.
And I said, "Is that the cat?" And she said, "Oh my." Well, she said something a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Right? Said, "Oh my, the cat's at the, what are we going to do? How are you going to catch a cat,
Yeah, you don't.
You know, that's
They
right.
come or they don't. Yeah.
I said, "Well, I'll go around the front and see if I can,
Yeah.
get it from the back.
Yeah.
You kind of open the door slowly so you can get it." She's like, "Oh my God, I'll see if I can get it," and all that kind of stuff. And the cat started walking away, and I was like, "All right, I'm going out to the front." And just before I went to go out to the front door, cat walks across the porch.
Oh, so two cats.
Two cats, same color. That was the neighbor's cat. Her cat was
Probably
still
better off
inside.
keeping them. Yeah.
And then we could breathe again. So
Yeah,
anything's possible. But it was so funny after. But at that time, we were kind of worried about, let the cat.
Could have been worse. You got in cats.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I've had that happen too.
Yeah.
Open the door and the cat would just stroll in and not know if it's his property or the neighbor's property. So pets. So yeah, if you let us know about pets, it's always good.
I think this was fun.
Yeah, I think it was excellent. I think it was very informative to buyers and
Yeah.
sellers because it's information that sometimes people kind of don't think about.
Yeah.
And,
This is the very first episode of the Public Inspections
our
Podcast.
very first one.
I'm so lucky. I'm so special. I can't believe it called me.
Oh, definitely.
I only had to pay him $5,000.
Was it 5? I thought it was 6.
We have some negotiating.
We do, yeah.
We'll talk to you next time.
We're going to negotiate.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you so much,
Enjoy.
Jason, for
Thanks,
showing up. We appreciate it.